Welcome back to Reliving Retro, episode 2 of season 2. We have another very special guest on with us today, so I'll go ahead and allow him to introduce himself.
Hello, thanks again for welcoming me back. I'm DMC PCRT, the worst name that I could think of at the time. But I'm a retro and gaming content creator, I suppose you could call it, on TikTok mainly. I am branching out to YouTube and Twitch as well. Everything is the same name, DMC PCRT, but just call me DMC for short. I've been mainly focusing on a lot of Super Nintendo RPGs. We're going to be wrapping up Earthbound next Tuesday, which has been about a 3-month thing, which has been a lot of fun for that. We've been playing off and on Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on the Switch on Mondays as well. But I haven't gotten in love with that one, so we've been switching to other games in its place, like Resident Evil 2 Remake and whatnot. So yeah, that's me. Thanks for having me back, though. I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah, good to have you back.
Of course, man. I've been tuning into any Earthbound stream that I can get into, and it's been a lot of fun watching you play that.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been fun. It's my first time too, and everyone's been pretty respectful as far as keeping the ending a secret. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
cool.
And I know you have a vote coming on, right, for your next game. What are the options?
The options currently are Super Metroid, Chrono Trigger, or Super Mario RPG. Those
my god!
Yeah, I know what a slew, right?
I know.
And it's all real hardware, all real carts and everything too. So
yeah,
damn.
I know Yaiser wants you to play Chrono Trigger.
I love Super Mario RPG too, though.
I voted for Super Metroid, and the only reason being is because I think it'll be a nice it'll be a good change up from because you played Dragon Warrior before Earthbound, so I felt like 3 RPGs back to back to back might be a little much. RPG.
Actually, even before Dragon Warrior was Final Fantasy 3/6, so that was like 4.5 months too. So I'm with you there. It wouldn't be a bad thing to mix it up.
And I don't know how long Super Metroid is, but that's another game actually that I'd love to play on the show because I think that would be fantastic.
I think I looked it up. It's like 8 hours, so it's like 3 weeks.
Right?
Yeah, so that would be like a 3-week game for you.
Yeah, it's about 8 hours. So with streaming every Tuesday from 10:45 to 1:30 a.m.
And I think Chrono Trigger is another like 28-30 hour game kind of deal.
It depends, right?
Yeah, it depends on how many times I want to play through it too. Yep.
True. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So for anybody unfamiliar with DMC, do you want to just kind of give your background to gaming, your introduction?
Sure. So I basically got into gaming as far as I can remember. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, so there was always a console after I was born, essentially. An NES and Sega Genesis were the 2 that were really there for a while. And then we got a Super Nintendo from my aunt. So it's funny because I always comment about, especially part of the reason I love getting into these retro games that I missed and didn't play is because basically what we got was all we had. So like when the NES collection I had from birth until I was like 15, that was basically all the NES games I ever had, which was like 15. It wasn't a lot of them. Silver Surfer, Castlevania, Super Mario 1 and 3, never 2 for some reason. Things like that, obviously Castlevania is something I love still to this day. I play it very frequently. But and I just kept with it. I really got into PC gaming in the mid 2000s where I built my first PC in about 2005, and I still build computers all the time. I have a thing I'm doing with another content creator, Cringe Computing, as they go by on TikTok, where we try to build the best computer we could for $125. So keep an eye out for that one because that's cool. A fun one. Actually, only spent $110 on mine. PC, so
right? I build my PCs too.
Awesome, sick. Yeah,
it was not
$125. It took a lot of work to get a system this decent for $125. So I'm not going to spoil it though because I'm pretty excited about what I
get anything that even resembles a video card for $125.
It was. I will tell you, the video card is a GTX 960 2 gig. It's not a 4 gig like they said it was in the listing, which is kind of a bummer. But it's for $110. That's all I actually had to spend. This system is surprisingly good.
Not bad.
So I love all forms of gaming, but then as I said on this journey with the content creation, I feel so weird saying that, but it's been a lot of fun hitting up games I never played before. Like we're talking Final Fantasy 3, Chrono Trigger, even Resident Evil 3. I love the Resident Evil series, and this is my first time playing through this. So
cool. Which kind of goes perfectly into this disclaimer, right? I've heard the Resident Evil fan club. I'll politely put it as they can be a little judgmental.
I would say they're specific would probably be the best thing. There's so many little nuances throughout the entire series, and the development is a disaster all the time. They've scrapped, like Resident Evil 2, for instance, was a completely different game, and then they canceled it and started over. And that's not the first time. Resident Evil 4 was made like 4 times, and one of them became Devil May Cry. So like
And
it just goes to show.
and wasn't
I didn't know that.
Resident Evil the director's cut, wasn't that kind of sent out as an apology because Resident Evil 2 took too long?
Yep, that is correct. From what I was listening to and reading recently, yeah, that was the case with director's cut. They're like Resident Evil 2, since its development took so long and they had to restart. They're like, let's just go ahead and push out the director's cut. I think that's when they added DualShock as well. I've got it here. I don't know if this is the DualShock version or not. Oh, it does. There now supports DualShock. Anyway, but yeah, but it has that infamous basement music, which if you've never heard that before, you have to listen to that because it is terrible.
Oh, gotta give it a shot after the show.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so basically I was just preferencing that all by saying, this is my first Resident Evil I've ever played, really. I played maybe about an hour of the director's cut for the PS1. And this is Yaiser's first as well. So if we say anything that's mildly incorrect, just let it fly, okay? We're noobs.
And even myself as a longtime fan. Yeah,
Yeah.
even myself as a longtime fan, I'm sure I'm going to get some little nuances here and there wrong. So I apologize if I don't remember the specific diary in the Watchkeeper's room exactly what it said.
I don't apologize.
Yaiser does not care. Throw all your critiques at Yaiser.
Send them my way.
Yeah,
I love it.
I do want to say really quickly before we get into the game here, we have a brand new patron. So I want to say thank you to Jack for joining the Patreon. I really, really appreciate that. And if you want to join the Patreon, there's a link in the description below. Probably, I'm assuming there is. Editor puts it there, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's one in there. Go check it out, and join that if you want your game played quicker, because our master list is pretty big. So you can suggest the games, and it might take us a while to get there. But yeah, so that's
and we're doing a giveaway this season too, right?
We are doing a giveaway.
Yeah.
So every game that we play is going to be entered into the giveaway, and it's going to be given away to one of our patrons. So if you want a chance to win one of the games we played so far on that list is Link to the Past and Resident Evil 3 Nemesis.
Wow.
So two pretty stellar games to have a chance to win so far. So go ahead and join the Patreon. It's $5 a month to support, and yeah, you have a chance to get one of those games.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's get into the game. Let's go across the board really quick. Rigney, did you beat the game? Of course I didn't. Yaiser?
No, but I think I was pretty close.
Yeah, about a half hour away or so.
Yeah,
And DMC?
maybe.
I pulled it off and I was able to beat it last night. So
yeah,
yep.
I was watching your stream on Twitch and I fell asleep. It happens to me every time.
I do play late. That's my problem. I don't get on to streams until 10:45 11 p.m. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's my thing.
Yeah, I always just lay in bed and watch your streams, and then I usually fall asleep to them, which is not a
That's really cute.
Yeah,
good sell. Good sell.
Yeah, it is. I was gonna say it's not an indictment on DMC as much as it is I can't stay awake during anything. My wife would be the first to tell you that I haven't watched a movie with my wife we've been together for 12 years. 12 years. I've never seen a movie with her.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, we went to the drive-ins a couple weekends ago, and I slept through both of them.
Oh
both
my gosh.
Movies. Yep. Ask me how Minions is. It was great. I got a lot of sleep.
Oh, the new one, right?
Yep. Yeah, we saw
That's
Minions
great.
and Jurassic Park. And
That's supposed to be good too.
well, ask my wife. I don't know. I didn't see it. I did not see it.
I'll ask her.
Anyway, yeah, so I did not beat this game. I played it probably this is somewhat funny, I guess. It's also kind of just really stupid. I did not know how the chest system worked in this game.
Oh, the magic chest.
So yeah, it's like, hey, what's the ink thing called again?
The ink ribbon.
Ink ribbon. There it is. That was the second word I was looking for. The ink ribbon. I'm like, I'm playing this on PC. Why do I need the ink ribbon? I'm just gonna save state.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so I was like, that frees up an inventory slot. I'm just never gonna carry it. And then I just didn't save one time, and I got killed.
Oh.
And then it went all the way back to the beginning because I never save stated it like an idiot. So I played this game for about an hour and a half. And then died, and then I had to start all over again and played it for another like 2.5 hours or so.
Yeah, I think I played it for about an hour and a half when it my emulator froze on me.
Yeah, that's fun.
And I hit the wrong button. Instead of load state, I hit save state.
Yeah.
So I had to start all over again too.
Ooh.
And after that, I made sure I was saving state after almost every fucking door I went through. I would save state. So
every time I was even close to a save, I saved. I think I saved 48 times in the game. I did it on the PlayStation 3 real hardware again with the here's my copy. Right?
oh, cool,
nice.
cool.
But
This
I
is
did
why
it
you
on the
need to
PlayStation.
play Yeah, this
But
is why you need to play on real hardware, because
it,
there's certainly advantages and disadvantages to playing on, an emulator. But yeah,
oh yeah.
sometimes your saves don't save on
Yeah.
emulators. So,
Mhm.
But I
but
did panic because the PlayStation 3 uses a virtual memory card. So after I saved for the first time, you have to mount that memory card. I forgot. So I, went to play for the second day, turn on the system, put the game in, started playing, and I went to load and it was like, there's no memory card. There's no save file. I'm like, what do you mean? I was like 4 hours in. The memory card just has to be mounted every time you play a PlayStation 1 game. And I was like,
oh,
okay.
geez.
So it was still there. I just I hadn't mounted it yet, but I was like, you gotta be kidding
Wow.
me.
Do you have an original PS1? Is that
You know
is
what?
that it
I
behind you?
don't. I don't.
No.
No, that's a you talking about like right here or whatever back there. That's
Yeah, it looked like a gray thing. I thought it looked.
that's my top loader Famicom from Japan. So
Oh, cool.
it's a
Oh.
mess back there. There's a bunch of stuff for content creation, but yeah. So no, but I actually it's funny. I don't have a PS1. I've got like two PlayStation. No, actually, I've got like 6 PlayStation 2s, but only 2 of them deployed. And then I have a fat PlayStation 3. That's the PS1, 2, and 3 compatible one.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually going to hook up
Cool.
a PS3 to my CRT because a buddy of mine made a suggestion. Hey, use that with component cables and play 4x3. You can download, the $6 PlayStation games off the network. I was like, that's genius. So I'm gonna start doing
Perfect. Yeah.
that. Mhm.
Cool.
All right. Let's get into the ratings.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna let DMC start off with story here. He knows a little bit more of the background than we do, so I'm gonna give him the floor. Go ahead, man.
All right, so there's 2 ways I'm looking at this one, and I'm sure I'm going to say this for every single topic because there's multiple ways I'm looking at it. But for the individual story and the overarching for Resident Evil, the story
Okay.
for this is essentially all about Jill Valentine getting out of Raccoon City. So for that, it's awesome. I had a great time. The entire time you felt like you were fighting the clock, even if there wasn't one until you got to the end with the stereotypical, self-detonation sequence that always happens in Resident Evil games.
Mhm.
But there was this constant pressure you felt the whole time. The game opens with you, jumping out of a burning room and just firing at a bunch of zombies. Like that's just the way to go.
Pretty much.
So yeah, I think for the individual story of this game, it was pretty strong. I liked just Jill's character. She got to meet some people, lost some people. You got to explore more Raccoon City, which is cool. But for the overarching Resident Evil story, it's a side story at the end of the day. You don't really learn too much about Umbrella like you were asking about earlier and things like that.
Mhm.
You kind of figure out how to get out of the city. There's a little bit about Nemesis, which again, awesome character and really cool part of the story. But yeah, I think that if I were to give it a rating, and you're gonna get some weird ones out of me, I would give it like a 3.8 for this one because I feel like
Oh,
the
cool.
individual story for Jill is pretty good, but the overarching Resident Evil story is it's a side story. This could be just Resident Evil Nemesis, and you could drop the number in my opinion. Which
That's
I can
fair.
already hear
Yeah.
the doors bang down from the Resident Evil
Yeah,
fans.
they're coming. They're coming for
They
you.
are.
Because so I posted on Twitter, I posted a picture of the title screen, and I said, sitting down with this one for the very first time, what should I expect? Is the game any good? Must have got like 30 something comments saying that
Wow.
it's like the one of the best games ever, and some people's like favorite Resident Evil game.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who love this. Another content creator, DG2009, this is her favorite Resident Evil, maybe her favorite game. So
Oh,
it's
really?
between this and
Wow.
Chrono Trigger, I believe. So
That's
yeah.
cool.
Wow.
Yaiser, story for you.
Well, it doesn't quite stack up to Chrono Trigger for me. I gave it a pretty good score. I think I went with 3.5 stars here. I don't really know the overall Resident Evil story very well, but the story in this game I thought was pretty cool. I thought it held up pretty cool, and I liked the kind of the false ending it gave you. It was so early on in the game, it was obviously a false ending. Was
Mhm.
when Jill was like, "Oh, we finally got out of here. We're safe now."
The
And
clock
then,
tower,
like,
yeah.
yeah, and everything goes to shit after that. It was pretty obvious just because it was so early in the game, but still, I like the effort of like making me think. Probably maybe like 10% of me thought, "Is this game really over already?"
This is
Like,
short
no,
of the game?
it can't be though. It can't be. But I like the effort of giving me a false ending. So yeah, I went with 3.5. I thought it was a pretty cool story. Nemesis is pretty fucking badass and awesome.
Oh yeah.
How many
Yeah.
times can you kill a thing though? You know?
I don't know. You mean like how many times can you actually, or just how long does it stay entertaining? I don't know how many times you can fight them in the game because there is some randomization to it, which
Yeah.
we'll discuss in the gameplay for sure. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, every
That's a cool
time I
feature.
could run away from him, I did. It
Yes.
wasn't easy.
So I don't know. Maybe you guys will talk me down here a little bit, but and and DMC, correct me if I'm wrong, but this game had a lot of choices that would impact the overall game, correct? Or does it not really impact the game that much?
It impacts the gameplay and like paths that you'll go on, but I don't think it changes the story at all. I mean, well, here's the thing: there's a few portions that could. Excuse me, one sec. It you might see one character instead of another during a cutscene and things like that. And I think I didn't see one of them, but I read about it that one character, if we're allowed to spoil, I suppose, so spoilers. There's Nikolai and there's Carlos. You can see them in different timelines. So I'm assuming I think all of you would have gotten to the gas station with the time that you played. So in the gas station, it blows up, and I was reading that I guess if Nikolai goes there, it looks like he dies there. I don't know if he actually does because it doesn't make sense for the rest of the story, but it blows up with him in it, I guess. So that could make it seem like he dies there. Whereas I had Carlos come in, so that didn't happen. So
Yeah, I think I met Nikolai there, and it makes you believe that he's dead. But then the next time you see him, like, oh my God, Nikolai, I can't believe you're alive.
I didn't get that far, so I can't weigh in.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's different little trees that happen, but like for the overall story, then it doesn't. But this game also kind of emphasizes, actually, a lot of Resident Evil emphasizes replays, like speed running essentially, because you can get ranks based on time and saving and healing. So
yeah, I saw it. Like, I think it's a pretty cool feature that it shows how many times you've saved.
Yeah.
So I think that's for bragging rights, I assume, right? Like you've only saved once or twice or whatever, then that's probably pretty good. I gave the story a 3.5, just because, kind of like what you were saying, DMC, it doesn't explain the first two really at all. It assumes that you've played the first two and that you know what's going on with Umbrella and everything that's going on in Raccoon City and stuff like that.
Right.
However, I think Jill's a badass.
Yeah.
She's pretty awesome as a character, so I think that's cool. And the fact that it gave you choices which could implement like some sort of change to the story or the gameplay, I thought that was a really cool addition. So I gave it a 3.5.
Nice. Now, one thing I want to note for like the Resident Evil lore real quick is that this game takes place before, during, and after Resident Evil 2 takes place. They actually are taking place at the same time. So when you get to the police station, for instance, you get there before Leon gets there. Leon and Claire get there in Resident Evil 2. So there's a section in Resident Evil 3 where Jill gets knocked out because she gets poisoned. I think Yaiser, you probably got there as well because Nemesis poisons her. When she gets knocked out, it's basically all but confirmed. I'm pretty sure that's the time that Resident Evil 2 takes place, is while she's out. So that's kind of thing.
Gotcha. That kind of stuff's confusing, but I like when stories are kind of confusing like that. Like we just talked about that with our last episode with Zelda, how confusing the actual overall like timeline is for Zelda. But it's very interesting to me, like to see it all laid out like game by game. This is what happens. This is how we know this game is before that game, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank God.
And Resident Evil definitely gets that way.
Yeah. I did want to say, I don't know if this, I guess this more fits in story than gameplay, so I guess I'll say it now. I love the way the Nemesis character was introduced. I think the first scene that you see him in, he kills, what's his name, Brad.
Oh, yeah.
Brad.
That's what it is.
Who's another former stars. Yeah, that is sick. Yeah, how he's just panicking. It's like, he's coming to get us. It's like, all right, what's coming to get us? I mean, obviously, look at the cover, but still.
Yeah, but so he kills him, and then it's just like, hey, do you want to fight the monster, or do you want to run into the police station? I'm like, that thing killed the guy that was killing the. I'm out. I'm going in the police station for sure.
That guy.
Yeah, I ran right past.
And then I guess this kind of fits into gameplay, so I'll slowly transition to gameplay. But the jump scares in this game were legit.
Yes,
you got me a few times.
Oh yeah,
and I feel like. With horror movies, I don't really get jump scary. I can almost see them coming every single time, and horror movies almost never really scare me. This game, there's one point. It's very early in the game where you're running, like you're walking through the streets, and there's very obviously a car door that can be opened or something, right? Because it's a different color than the rest of the car. It's just like video game, like you can tell it's different. Like the cracked walls in Zelda. It's like, oh, I wonder what's over there. So you could tell like something was going to happen with this car door, and I walk over to it, press X, nothing happens. I'm like, okay, whatever. So then I walk past it, nothing happens. I'm like, I was definitely expecting something to happen there. And then you walk by it again later, still nothing. Like you hear like a bang from it, and nothing happened. And I'm like, whatever. And then I walk by it again. That's when it decides to actually scare the crap out of me, and something comes out of there.
Yep.
And then when Nemesis broke in through the police window, that was probably the biggest jump scare that I've had so far.
Yeah, that one got me.
I think the big one for me was very early on. You also mentioned there's when zombies burst open the door when there's like that fork that you have to go through. Just didn't expect that. And it was like 8 of them that showed up too. It's like, ah. And then the damn birds, the second time they show up is from a bus. So like you're running
birds.
Yeah, and I'm already running away from the dogs, I'm pretty sure, that are in this alley, and then these birds show up too, and I'm like, come on, dude. Like I'm already uncomfortable and these stupid birds. So
yeah, coming from playing all the Dark Souls, I didn't think I could hate zombie dogs more than the Dark Souls zombie dogs, but these zombie dogs I think were a little worse.
Yeah, it's hard with those tank controls, but if we're going into gameplay, if I may, I think it's an important question too. Is what difficulty did you guys play under?
So I played on easy.
I played easy. Okay, good. So then we're all in a level playing field. Like hard mode is just half the amount of bullets that you would pick up, from what I understand. And also when you fight Nemesis, if you choose to, he drops items that'll help you upgrade your weapons. We already got those playing easy mode.
Oh, gotcha.
Some of them at least. So
yeah.
Okay. So as we're going into gameplay, the inventory issue, right? Because there's obviously some sort of inventory issue here. And I don't know what makes me more mad. Is it the limited inventory that makes me more mad, or is it the way that you have to like switch them out constant? I don't know. It's aggravating, but I'm asking you, DMC, what gun did you carry most? Did you carry multiple guns? Did you carry a gun and a knife? What was your go-to?
So I realized this game is built around action compared to the first few Resident Evils. That's also like what they built up on. There's way more zombies on screen. Some will move faster. You also have way more varied weapons. You have the classics, the pistol, shotgun, rocket launcher, but then you have like the AR and Magnum, which is also, I guess, a classic. But nonetheless, I start off just carrying a fully loaded shotgun, a pistol with extra ammo, and then some healing items, then key items. That's what I started doing. So like I wouldn't carry extra shotgun shells to start with. I would just have a fully loaded shotgun, then a pistol with like 250 bullets. And that was usually enough. And when it came to the dogs, for instance, I figured out if you played it just right, almost like a Mega Man game or something, if you shot and waited for them just to get back up, you could like 1, 2, 3, then wait like 2 seconds, 1, 2, 3 with just a pistol. And like, those kind of things became easier situations. But then of course, once Nemesis started showing up more, I had to start pulling out, like the rocket launcher, which they give you a hilarious amount of bullets for those at the end. Like I think I had 107 regular grenade shells by the end of the game. So like, yeah, like that for easy mode at least. But yeah, so the inventory management though is like, I know it's kind of lame to say, but it is Resident Evil. Like that's part of the survival horror aspect, is that you have to pick up this one item, and then if you're over full and you find that one item you need, and you have to run all the way back, and then like that kind of builds up the tension though, because it's like, okay, what is that car door going to open this time? You know what I mean? Like when I run past it, because I have to pick up this what is it, a compass to put on a statue to get a battery, because that's where you store a car battery, I guess.
Yeah,
but that's Resident Evil in a nutshell. But yeah, I don't mind it.
Well, the statue had a light on it, so
exactly. Oh, it's a good point. You know what? That's a good point. I never thought about it like that. Good point.
Had to light up somehow.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, I took care of the inventory situation by cheating.
Okay.
Yeah, I loaded cheat codes into my emulator for infinite ammo. So basically, all I needed to carry was healing items and my infinite ammo AR. I had room. I had room for everything. Just because basically I was just trying to
get through the
game and get to the end. Even like today, before I started playing today, even though I only got to play for 2 or 3 minutes before I got distracted, I guess. I loaded up infinite health. I was just gonna try to chug through and just get to the end of the game. I wanted to see the end, but unfortunately I didn't get that far. But
yeah, so Yaiser, what did you rate the gameplay?
I rated gameplay with I went right down the middle with 2.5 just because of the controls.
The controls
it was super clunky.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was hard to play at times, not because of I think the difficulty of the enemies that you were fighting, but of the difficulty of the controls, I think.
You're fighting against yourself almost.
Yeah, pretty much. So
yeah, that makes sense. I had similar issues with the controls. The controls, like the running part, it's almost disorienting at a certain point, because you're not playing in a first person point of view, but your controls act like you are, in the sense that up is always forward. So it doesn't matter which direction your character's facing at all. So like your character could be facing the camera, and then up would make them go down, essentially.
Right.
So it's kind of I don't know. It's a little disorienting, but I got used to that. That part wasn't that big of a deal. The camera cuts sometimes were really annoying.
Yeah.
I'm getting all the bad stuff out of the way first, and then I'll go to what I really enjoyed about the game, because I really did.
Like a manager review.
Yeah, I really did enjoy a good portion of this game. But yeah, so the camera cuts was something, and I know that again, this is something probably of the time, right? Like this gets better as the Resident Evil franchise goes on, I assume.
Yeah, I would assume too.
This is like the second to last tank control one, actually. Code Veronica was the last style in this control style.
But like Resident Evil 4 gets this down, like gets the camera stuff down way better, right?
I mean, in my opinion, I love Resident Evil 4, so yes, but
yeah,
that depends, because there's a lot of Resident Evil purists. I bang at the door again. Are if it's not tank controls, it's not Resident Evil to a lot of people. So it depends on your play, especially like. So if you think the tank controls to the over the shoulder was one thing, when they went to first person, people's minds were just blown. So yeah,
that's fair. So I guess combined with the inventory, the tank controls, and just the quick cut cameras and stuff like that, I had this gameplay out of 4, and for those reasons, I knocked it down to a 3.5.
Okay.
I thought that the actual gameplay of it was really, really fun. Oh, the only other thing that I did want to say that I didn't enjoy as much is that in this game, it's a lot of, okay, you need X to progress the story, but to get X, you need Y. Oh, you got to Y, but now because you got Y, you need Z. You know what I mean? Like there's that one part at the beginning where you need the fire hose to extinguish the fire. So then you find the fire hose, and then you get the fire hose, but it's bolted to the wall. So then you have to go all the way back and get a wrench. And it's just like that going back and forth kind of stuff drove me a little crazy. But
that's how they stretch the game. And it's, again, that's very Resident Evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's to me, I guess the biggest reason why I don't like a lot of that stuff is because the limited amount of time we have to play the game, and I'm trying to get through it as quickly as possible. And I just get frustrated when I'm like, oh, cool, I found the fire hose. Oh, I need to go get something else to get it now.
Yeah.
So I think I'm right there to progress the story, and I can't because of whatever reason.
Yeah, there was when I was trying to get everything to get the train moving up in downtown. I realized that I missed the oil additive.
Oh,
way back in Uptown in the hospital or whatever it was, the storage room in the hospital. It took me 20 minutes to run back just to get it and run back up to where I needed to be.
I did that in my first playthrough before I died. I forgot that, and I had to go back and get it. And then when I went back, I died.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, it was rough.
So I will admit, I did use a strategy guide when I needed help, just because, like you're saying, for time's sake, it's like, okay, Resident Evil definitely can make you be like, what the heck? Or even there was one moment where I was like, this is even insane for Resident Evil, which it actually was the fire hose, where I believe to get the fire hose, you have to use a crank, and then the crank breaks, and then you have to use the wrench on the broken crank. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, I don't remember ever having to do anything like this before in the series. That's really silly. Usually it's one item either gets combined to do something, or it's just that one item does something. But for one item to have to fix a broken item, I was like, I get it, it's a wrench. Okay, yeah, but it's still just like, I was expecting the wrench to be for something completely different. You know what I mean? So
and I didn't really find a problem with it until I got to that part, and I was just like, that's a little that's a little much, I think.
But that was the worst offender out of all of the items, in my opinion, was that one. I was like, come on.
Right. But yeah, I gave it a 3.5. I think the actual gameplay, the actual like action portions of the game is a lot of fun. I especially like how you can change, and DMC, you said you didn't really use the AR. But I like how you can change that from manual to auto.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, I kept it.
Cool.
I kept it in manual, but I changed it to auto just because I was like, how different is it? And it basically makes it a 3 burst.
That's sick.
Oh,
so you could probably conserve on bullets that way.
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
But I thought that was a cool addition to it, and I really liked the jump scariness of it. I actually felt like I was playing like an actual like scary game, which I just feel like they really don't make those really anymore.
I agree.
So for that, I bumped it up a lot because it was fun to play something that actually scared me.
Yep.
DMC, would you give gameplay?
All right, so obviously I'm biased because I love the Resident Evil series, but every time I've tried to play it, so I have played this before. I played on the GameCube and I played it on the Dreamcast, and I would always get to like the first like major puzzles in what is it, near the park with the battery, you know what I mean? And I don't know, I just didn't care too much for it. But this time it finally clicked and I really found myself enjoying it. As you said, the actual core gameplay itself, running through the city, shooting is a blast. There's a lot of zombies. They added explosives, which wasn't there for the first two. So like the exploding barrels and things like that, those weren't in the previous games.
That's how
So
I
they're-
killed myself the first time, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely shot one too close once and took a lot of damage for that. That was last
saw
night.
that,
I was
actually.
Like, oh, man. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I'm almost dead. But but anyway, that stuff is great. The guns feel fun to play with. I don't mind the running back and forth. The inventory management isn't too bad. I found that there was always a save room right when I needed it, so that was good design on their parts too. I'm going to include the decisions in the gameplay because I think that's really cool. You know, having to decide if you want to fight Nemesis or push him off a bridge or run away or all these things. Or there were some like other simple ones where it wasn't even Nemesis, where the zombies are banging down the gate. It's like, do you want to turn on the electricity or something like that? I'm like, okay, like, you know, that's really cool. So I gave it a 4.25 actually, because there's some other really good quality of life improvements that they added, like the 180 turnaround. I don't know if you guys utilize that at all, where if you hold back,
I tried to. I don't know. It wasn't. I had a hard time doing it.
Yeah, the 180 makes it way easier to play the game, in my opinion, especially with the tank controls.
Yeah. I tried to do it a couple times, but like, you're backing up and you have to hit. What are you gonna hit?
It's back and square. At least that's what it was on my controller.
Square, but then
like
you got
right at the same time.
Turn to hit forward after.
Yeah,
that. I struggled with that because I would just turn around and then I would just back up into the enemy. You know,
that's funny. I never thought about that.
I had a hard time doing that.
The dodge mechanic is definitely something I would knock it on. Like, it's cool that they added it, but it's just so like, I don't know. It was really hard to get a hang of because like, okay, like sometimes I would dodge when I needed to, and then other times I would just get swung at immediately by Nemesis and stuff. And I'm like, why? Or I dodged 3 times in a row. So
yeah, sometimes I would accidentally dodge.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, no, I'm actually trying to shoot this person. So
yeah. The only time where I needed the dodge, I think, is when you go under into the sewers to fight Gravedigger before you fight him in the graveyard.
Man, that fight is hard.
That's tough, man, right?
Yep.
I abused save state during that.
Yeah, that fight's probably the hardest one in my opinion. The first fight with Gravedigger, just because I couldn't, like, maybe it's just because I'm getting older or something, but I couldn't get the depth down of how far in I needed to be to do the damage and press the buttons. So I died actually. I think, and that's another thing too. Like, I also want to point on that too, is that I died a few times in this game, even on easy mode. Because it was hard still in a good way. Like, it had a challenge, and like things like Gravedigger, I don't know if that's unfair or if it's just like it's the stress of the situation, because that is a stressful little room with this giant worm trying to eat you.
Yeah, so nothing that I played seemed unfair. So I feel like the gameplay difficulty of it was really good in the sense that, you know, like I said, it's not unfair at all, and it just feels like it's just genuinely challenging, which is how a game should be.
And it's good that even on easy mode, you know, it's not just rushing through the game. There was still a challenge. I died from Nemesis once because I just kept getting swung on because I wasn't dodging right. I guess. And, you know, Gravedigger and stuff like that. So yeah, like it's again 4.25, and maybe there's some bias to it, but I didn't think I would enjoy it more than I enjoy Resident Evil 2's gameplay, like the original, because that's one of my all-time favorite games. Is RE2, and wow, the gameplay really, they did improve it a lot. It's gonna be hard going back to Resident Evil 2 now. So,
so one of my favorite parts of just experiencing this game this week was actually a moment where I wasn't even playing. I was watching DMC play live on Twitch, and it was like, what is the puzzle called that you were doing? It's like the wavelength puzzle.
Oh yeah, the sound one. Yeah, that's another good point. The puzzles were good too. That puzzle was actually like it. I'm sure there's gonna be someone saying like, "Oh my god, it's so easy," but no, it wasn't. Like, you really had to think.
It took a little bit, yeah.
When you were trying to, that was the water treatment thing.
Yeah, right? Exactly. You were so close to the end. If you were there, man, that's such a bummer. You're like 15 minutes away.
Jeez.
Yeah, because I think I fell asleep right after we did that puzzle.
Basically, you. I don't want to spoil it, I guess, but you have like two more big fights, I guess, and that's the game. So like, you're so close. You got to beat it tonight. Like, you're that close. But like that water treatment puzzle was fun and difficult in a sense of like, you really had to think about it. So like, yeah, that's good. Resident Evil puzzles nowadays suck. Like they are not like that at all.
They're just too easy.
They're so easy. Like, a lot of people might bring up the Resident Evil 4 like puzzle piece one that when you're playing as Ashley, but all you have to do is move a piece to the center, go in a circle. That's it. It's not a puzzle. You just have to do one thing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that one was fun. And I guess one more thing to bring up too for gameplay, if I may, is Resident Evil, in my opinion, is known for really bad boss fights. Like they're very easy. They're almost too predictable. Nowadays, they're super simple. Resident Evil 8 was kind of refreshing because like Lady Demetrius, I think is how you say it, was actually a good boss fight in my opinion. I was like, wow, that was cool. Took 5 games to do it. But Nemesis, every time you fought him was fun. Gravedigger was a good boss fight. Like a lot of the boss fights were solid. And the final fight in this game was pretty satisfying. So yeah, that's 4.25 for those reasons.
I'll have to get there.
Nice, man. Yaiser, you want to kick off visuals?
Visuals? Yeah, sure. I gave it 3 stars for visuals.
Okay.
Just I thought it looked pretty good for one of those PS1 games. I thought visually the best part was like the Nemesis character design. He looks so fucking cool and badass. The cinematic cutscenes also were pretty cool. But other than that, I mean, just like the regular zombies, they were
just all right.
Nothing special. But I guess they're okay for those PS1 generation graphics. But yeah, I don't know. I landed at 3 stars, which is above halfway.
Yeah.
I went over half for it. But I don't know. It wasn't too great for me, but not terrible either.
I thought that the actual character models were pretty good for PS1 standards, and I think that the environment looked really good.
Yes.
And I think that the cinematics looked really, really good. Like when I first fired up my emulator, I was like, do I have this upscaled? And then I looked and I was like, I don't have it upscaled. So I was surprised how good the cinematics looked at the beginning. But yeah, I thought character models were really cool. As far as like PS1 goes, you're not going to get anything that looks insanely crazy, but I gave it a 4 because I felt, pretty happy with how they looked. It wasn't hard to play because of how it looked at all. You know what I mean? Like I felt like taking a similar game that we've played from a similar era, and I feel like I crap on this game all the time, but I really did enjoy it. Medieval. Yeah, just by looking at Medieval looked really like grainy and not like, I don't know, it just didn't look nearly as polished as this one did in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. I gave it a 4 star. I liked it. I thought it looked really good. DMC?
I'm gonna be right there. I was actually gonna go with a 3.9 as I was like writing my thoughts down, thinking about it, but I'm going right there to the 4. Resident Evil is known for their amazing pre-rendered backgrounds. Like that's part of the reason why the games hold up so well, is because they're able to focus more on the backgrounds being pre-rendered, so they just have a 3D model walking on them. So yeah, they look visually good still, especially if you ever get the chance to play the Resident Evil 1 remake. Those backgrounds are going to hold up for decades. I swear, they look so good. But as far as this one goes, yeah, it's still fit the formula. Everything looks really good there. Fire looked solid. Like, they for some reason their fire looks good. I don't know why. I think there's little like bits and bobs here and there that are cool too. When you shoot a gun, you see the shell casing come out and bounce around, which is really cool. So like that's a nice little visual piece, especially if you're using that AR. Next time you use that, just pay attention to the amount of shells just dropping on the ground.
I didn't even notice.
So that's really cool. And Nemesis, like you said, what a villain. Like that's basically iconic. He is so cool. It's just an awesome one. Near the end of the game, there's some cool nods to the series, which didn't impact my score, but like you do see a Tyrant, you do see Mr. X, another one of them dead around the ground. So if you have to pay attention, like that stuff's cool. The environments themselves are neat. A graveyard, it's stereotypical as it is, but that's still cool. The city in just chaos looked great. Like, yeah, I thought visually, especially for a PlayStation 1 game, it looks solid and still holds up. And I mean, like I said, I was playing on real hardware. My only knocks for it was that the text is terrible. Like, I don't know what it was, but it made it hard to read for some reason for me. Like, I was trying to read it live on stream and I kept finding myself stumbling here and there just because I did not care for the way the text was. And like you said, recycled models was kind of a bummer. I'm sure that's how they got more of them on screen. There was one, I remember, police zombie that looked so good. Like his entire left side was just mauled, and they only used it once. And I was like, that one is so good. Use that like a few more times around because it looks so gross. So like that would have been nice, but I'm sure for the sake of having so many on screen, they just let's put 12 of them on. It'll be easier on the system. So yeah. But overall,
solid. That makes sense. Yeah, like I said, I thought it looked really, really good.
Mhm.
I think I really liked the city
Yeah.
aspect. Like I thought that looked really good. All the all the broken cars and just the city in ruins, I think looked really awesome.
Yep. A lot of dead people everywhere. Like
Yeah,
stuff
right.
like that was real
Oh, there was
cool.
actually a pretty funny part where I got into the police station, and there must have been like 3 or so zombies in there, like right when you get into like the it's like the main like bullpen area,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and I shot all the zombies, and then I turn around to like the filing cabinets or whatever just to check if there's anything in there, and it said, "Man, somebody made this place a mess." And I'm like, "Yeah, it was me. I just shot up all these zombies." And I
There's
just
a
thought it was
lot of
hilarious.
goofy humor in that, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
That's
thought
good.
that was
funny.
hilarious. Uh, but anyway, all right. So moving over to sound, I guess I'll kick it off here. The sound effects are great. Um, however, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of like actual music. I mean, there's some like ambiance, I guess.
Mhm.
And then there's the save room music, which is that the only one that comes on?
That's like, is it the same save room song throughout?
No, it's the same save room song with
Yeah.
throughout, correct? But is that the only music in the game? Is there
No,
more than that?
so
There's
if I may jump in, there's a
Go
few really
ahead.
key ones that I think are what really helped me give this. This is my highest score for sure is the sound. But when there's like an event when the zombies show up and it's that chaotic like horns and piano coming in that just
Mhm.
really pumps it up, like holy crap, things are happening, and it just jumps
Yep.
right in. There's that song that plays a
Okay.
few
Yeah. True.
times. Nemesis has his own theme song too, which like it's very ambient, but it's like, oh crap, he's here again. So like when you're in the clock tower and the ceiling is making the dust, that theme comes back on before you even
Mhm.
see him. You hear him, which is like, okay, that's terrifying. And then of course the save room music is a good mix of calm and also like a dread at the same time, because you're like, all right, I'm in here, I'm safe for now, but I'm gonna have to go back out there. So
Yeah.
for as
Mhm.
far as music goes, there's some tracks throughout, but a lot of it, yeah, is it's the streets especially have that, just I don't even know, like droning kind of sound that goes on.
Yeah.
It's
It's
not
like it.
music so much as it is just like dread. That's the overall sense I get from the soundtrack.
Right. Yeah. That's why I wasn't really calling it music. I was more calling it like ambiance. Like it just
Yeah.
added like
Yeah.
feeling to the environment,
Yeah.
which I didn't necessarily knock it for.
Mhm.
You know, it's hard for me to give high scores in sound to things that don't have like amazing soundtracks, in my
Mhm.
opinion,
Mhm.
because that's what I look for in sound. But I do think that sound effects were all pretty good here. Even like even Nemesis shows
Dude,
like
stars. It's
yeah.
terrifying.
And I really like just like subtle, like you'll just hear like noises, and
Mhm.
it's like I don't know if is that cueing a zombie. I'm just gonna move to the
Just
next
keep
screen
walking,
so I
yeah.
don't have to fight it. But I gave it a 3.5 overall, which is probably seems a little low, but again, it was mainly due to just I wasn't like overwhelmed with, I guess, the amount of music in the game, and
Mhm.
I thought it could have been a little bit better in that sense. But
Mhm.
other than that, I really didn't have that many complaints about it. I mean, I think 4 was probably going to be the max I was going to give this game, only because, like I said, it doesn't have like one of those super memorable like banger to banger like kind of soundtrack kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's a totally different game than that, so it's almost not fair even really to give it that. But that's what I gave it.
Right.
DMC.
So I bought in. Like it takes some time for a game, in my opinion. If I buy in, then I can really get into the environment and things like that.
Yeah.
That's key, and I feel like sounds and soundtrack is a big part of that. And this game pretty much immediately had me enthralled in its universe. It's not going to take much because I'm a Resident Evil fan, but again, I've tried playing this a couple times before, but this is the first time it really clicked. I gave it a 4.75 now, which I know is really high, but
Oof.
yeah, I know.
I like it though. You haven't given a lot of like super high scores, so I'm impressed when I see that. So that's cool.
Thank you. But yeah, so the big reasons are, like I said, the music that is there fits that chaotic music when it comes on. I swear my hands would immediately sweat because I'm like, what's going to happen? Like, what's going to happen
Hmm.
here? When Nemesis appears, the heartbeat that comes up for the decisions, like those kind of nods are really just makes you buy in. But then the little details, zombies, yeah, they like you hearing them around the corner, and it really feels like they're around the corner when you hear them. The guns all sound good. The rocket launchers are always kind of sounding weak. They sound like muffled farts occasionally, but
Mhm, mhm.
like those kind of things are kind of a bummer. But all the other sounds are great. Explosions sound good. Like again, the guns, the zombies digging up through the ground, the grave digger, a lot of just the little things that build everything up. Hearing the the little clicks of the dogs as they're walking, and
Yeah.
they're there, but you don't see them, is one of the most terrifying things in the series, in my opinion. So
I
yeah, I
think
feel like a lot of that builds up to why it gets such a high score. Go ahead, but
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say I think that I probably did myself a disservice not playing this game in the dark with headphones on.
yeah, that could be part of it.
That
Yeah.
that probably would have been like the optimal way to play the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
The two things I'll say that knocked the score down from nearly perfect to perfect is the voice acting. It's not that good. Like Jill, oh no, Carlos. Like it's pretty weak as far as she goes, as far as her
Yeah.
acting here and there. But there's other times it's good. But the EQ, and maybe this is just for me, when there's cutscenes going on and music is playing, you can barely hear the people talking. Like everything else is so loud that you can barely hear them for some reason. And I don't know if they maybe improved this in later versions or something, but like I remember one specific cutscene outside the trolley, I believe, where you're speaking with Carlos, or maybe you're in the trolley and you can't hear them. Like they're just making their
really?
PlayStation 1 movement motions with their hands like this, and you can't hear what they're talking about because it's just so loud, everything else.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's the stuff I would knock it down from, but everything else is just perfect for that.
What do you got, Yaiser?
Can we pause right there?
We can pause.
I have to pee so bad.
Go ahead, buddy.
2 seconds later.
So sound wise, I think you guys might be a little upset with me with my grade.
Oh no.
Because I didn't think the sound effects, at least like the gun sound effects, were
You
all
didn't
that
think they were
great.
that good?
I really didn't. And some of the music, like you said, there was hardly any like actual music. It was more ambiance, which I get it with this type of game.
It makes sense, yeah.
It does make sense. But like again, like you said, I want fucking some bangers, you know what I
Some
mean?
banger
If I'm
music.
gonna give you a good grade as far as sound goes, I want a dope ass soundtrack. So I'm actually gonna bump it up just to not make you guys feel so bad.
Oh no, go with your honest answer. Be your true
Okay,
self.
I went 1.5 stars.
Never mind, bump it up. I'm just
Oh.
kidding. That is insane. I love the discrepancy. I definitely
Yeah.
appreciate the less is more approach here, but I can understand why you wouldn't. So that's
You know,
So here's how I feel, right? I kind of grade sound. I feel like I grade everything like I don't put it. I don't know what I'm saying, but I feel like what I'm trying to say is like I kind of grade sound in particular along with like every other game. Like I grade it all on the same scale, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Right? So it just like I do with story. Like for Mario or for like what was it? What did I give a terrible score? Crazy Taxi. I gave a really bad score for
because it's like 6 songs, right?
Right. Well, I mean, for story, for example, right? For Crazy Taxi, I gave it a 1 because it doesn't have a story,
Mhm.
but that's not what the game is. So it's hard for me to give it a good story just because it's a good game, right? I guess I kind of liken sound to this. Like it doesn't have a great soundtrack, but for what the game is, it does exactly what it needs to do.
I guess
So in that aspect, the sound should be like a really high score because it does exactly what the game needs it to do.
right. It'd be weird if there was music the whole time, right?
Yeah, it would be weird.
Yeah, picture like, with it being late 90s, like Rob Zombie just pumping out, Dragula as you're just running down the streets and be like, what?
Yeah, it would be a little it wouldn't have the same ambiance to it, right?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And what I
So-
think really helped me reevaluate when it comes to that thought process is Breath of the Wild, where that is a very much less is more kind of game, where there's not a lot of soundtrack, but it works for that kind of game.
Yeah,
And that's kind of where I started thinking more about how again, soundtrack, especially loving NES games. A lot of those have such great chiptune tracks, but as games have developed, do we need to have tracks playing the whole time? Not necessarily, in my opinion, again. And that's why I feel like when there was music, it was just the right amount in this game. But I love the difference of opinion here because it's cool.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's why I like having the three of us to give like a different score and stuff like that, because you never really know how one person felt about it compared to the other. But I do think that like I do agree with you, DMC, that less is more in this game. Like it does exactly what the game needs it to do. So it should be a higher score based on that. But I feel really weird giving sound a 5 in this game and then giving it, you know what I mean? Like also a 5 in like Donkey Kong Country when it's just like a completely different type of 5. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I gotta still work out my.
It absolutely is. Donkey Kong Country is a 5. That's for sure.
Yeah, right. I think I've only given I've given sound a 5. I think 3 times, and it was Donkey Kong Country, what was it? Donkey Kong Country, Castlevania,
As it should.
and Link to the Past.
Oh,
I would
think I
give
only
all
did it
those a
once.
5.
I only did it once on Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's looking for bangers, man. I wonder if
I
we
like
played
it.
Dark Souls, where you'd be at with sound.
You see,
Does that
'cause
have a
all those
soundtrack, or is that less is more as well?
the boss fights, each boss fight has a different
Oh,
and it's
big
all
score,
like
right?
orchestral and fucking crazy and intense. And I think
Mhm.
I would give it a pretty good score.
Yeah. Okay, so you're biased. I get it.
I am very biased.
You know, it's good to admit your biases, as I have throughout this
You know,
entire review.
whatever.
So yeah.
Yeah, right. All right, DMC, gonna throw it over to you for Aged. How'd you feel?
Okay. Okay. Again, biased as we're talking about it, having played Resident Evils, I think the tank controls are actually a good thing that we've left in the past. I know, right? I'm going to give it a 3.75 for Age, taking everything together, because I think
Okay.
that while the tank controls can be rough, especially to people who've never played this style of game before, that's why they don't make them anymore, because it is antiquated for a lot of games. But in this example, it might be the best example of tank controls that I've seen. The gameplay is great. The quick 180 turnaround is cool. The dodging makes it a little easier. I'm sure with some time we could all master it and make it even more better. But anyway, even more usable.
I think you meant better.
Betterer, thank you.
More better.
but right. So like those kind of things keep the quality of life up as far as its aged goes. The backgrounds being pre-rendered will always help these games as far as visuals go. The sound, obviously, I think is great. I can only imagine if I had this on something even better. I play with just a little like JBL soundbar, so like it's not the best thing for it, but it still has a decent amount of I don't know what you'd call that, audio quality. But yeah, so like I bet you if you really put this on something with some deep bass, especially when Nemesis shows up and all that, that helps. And then like just the sense of dread, that's never going to age. Being scared is something that people will always be. And this game does a really good job of keeping you on edge and bringing you into it. And, zombies, you never know when they're going to come up next. And the randomization, which I don't really think we really touched on much here, because there is a lot of randomization in this game, can keep the game fresh, because there might be healing items there one time. You expect them on your next playthrough and they're not there. Or Nemesis wasn't there with your last playthrough, and then the next time he is there. So those kind of things keep it fresh.
That's true. I actually wanted to bring that up, but I forgot. The randomization, is the map randomized at all, or was that just me not remembering where I was going?
That map got confusing to me too. I actually had to pull that up online and just have like a static image. I'm like, okay, where the hell am I?
Okay,
but yeah,
because my first playthrough before I died, I could have swore this door led to a different area, and then when I went and played through it again, I was like, wasn't this anyway? I was wrong apparently, so it's fine.
So the map doesn't randomize, but if you used items that you left behind as like a marker, they might not have been there that second time. So key items don't change, except for like I think when you pick up a revolver in the STARS office, it's either going to be a Magnum or it will be the rocket launcher, and then whatever one you don't get there, when you go to the electrified fence area with the zombies later, the other item will be there.
Mine
so
was
that'll change. Exactly. Yeah, mine was the Magnum too. So then I got the rocket launcher later. So like that, or the grenade launcher. Sorry, I'm sure a lot of people are like, it's a grenade launcher. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And we haven't even touched on the mercenaries mode that you get when you beat the game too. So there is a arcade mode that you unlock afterwards, and then you can also unlock skins and things like that, which is all pretty far, not I say ahead of its time, but like again another lost art kind of thing where you don't have to buy these things. It's all included, extra modes, extra skins.
Yeah, but all that stuff adds to the replayability of the game, as well as there are multiple endings, correct?
I don't know if there's multiple endings. I've only beaten it once, so I'm not sure. I think there's different paths that you can get to the end.
Gotcha.
But so I think there's gotta be.
I YouTubed the ending because I didn't get there, so I wanted to see what it looked like. And there was I didn't watch this one, but there was a video on there that said Resident Evil 3 Nemesis all endings. So I assumed that there were multiple endings. Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me with the way this game goes.
Which again, to me just adds to the replayability. I gave the Aged a 3.5 because I felt like it played really well for what it was, a PS1 game with tank controls. I do think that certain aspects of it make it hard to play now, which are the tank controls and the camera cuts for me. That's really tough to deal with. It just gets really disorienting if I move 2 feet and then the camera cuts another way, and then I move another 3 feet and then the camera cuts again, and I'm like, oh man, like for me that's disorienting. But I could get how a lot of people are used to that, and that's just the way Resident Evil is.
There's a couple times where like I'm fighting like Nemesis and I'm like shooting him, and somehow accidentally dodge, and I roll into another frame, and then like he comes into my frame, and I accidentally dodge again. I rolled it. It's like it was
right.
a little tough for me.
A lot of cutting. Yeah. It's tough.
I'm gonna go a little lower than you guys again on this.
Go ahead, buddy.
On this category. I gave it 2 stars.
Okay.
Mainly because of the controls, and not even just like the running controls or whatever, but like how long it takes you to pick your gun up and then start firing when you hit R or R2 or whatever.
It does take a little bit longer than I would have thought it would.
Right?
You hit R1 and she's kind of just like it's very slow.
Yeah. And why can't I run and shoot at the
sudden.
same time, or walk and shoot at the same time?
That was a complaint for decades in the series, but that's part of the difficulty. That's what they wanted.
Yeah,
that's an excuse in my opinion.
It could be with the way these games are developed. You never know.
I don't know. No, I think honestly, looking at like a little bit of the remaster I saw, like I'll skip to the next part. Like, would you relive this game? No, play the remaster. It looks fucking sick.
Ooh,
that
dude,
thing looks
lock
dope.
your doors. I promise you, they're coming for you now.
I'll leave them open. I got an AR in my house too. Come get me.
Man.
But no, dude, I wouldn't. I would much rather play the remaster than try to do this again.
So I'm gonna say I want you to play the remaster and then come back to that, because I actually played the remaster first. I played the remake before I played this, and I think I would take this over it, honestly.
Really?
The remake is so short, and it felt uninspired, which is kind of bizarre because Resident Evil 2, the remake before that, is like one of the best games that's come out the past decade. The RE2 remake is stupid good. I couldn't believe how they knocked it out of the park. And then to go from that to the RE3 remake, it's fine, but some of the things that you said that you liked in this game aren't really there. Nemesis is scripted. Like he's not going to show up randomly. He will be in the same spots every single time you play that game.
Okay.
So things like that are kind of annoying. They cut out full sections of content. I can see why people were mad that the clock tower is gone. That section was so much fun.
The whole thing is gone?
Yeah, that whole thing's gone. Gone. So it's like, okay, cool. So that whole section is out of there. I can't remember. The factory's kind of there. Yeah. But yeah, so like I don't know. I would love to see what your thoughts are when you play that and then compare the two, because obviously it's got a lot of modern niceties to it. You can move and shoot. But yeah, I don't know, the remake, it's fine, but man, pick it up for $5. That's the most I'd spend on it. So
all right.
So
maybe I wouldn't play either then.
So I believe that the actual copy of this game right now is going for, oh geez, I want to say it's going for like $60.
Yeah,
complete in box, something like that. Is DMC, to you, is it worth telling somebody that's never played this game before, go ahead and spend the $60 on Resident Evil 3 Nemesis for the PS1? You will get your money's worth.
Okay. Dang. If they've never played this before, it would be hard to say that. That's a good angle that I'll have to look at going forth, because $60 is a lot to ask for a game like this at this time. My copy actually did just buy a year ago, and they wanted 60, and I talked them down to 40. So it's kind of funny that it's kind of holding. But that's a really good way of looking at it. I would say if you like horror and if you want to be scared, spend the 60. However, there's a workaround. If you have a PlayStation 3, you can download it for $6 off the PSN. So
there you go.
You can
spend
get
the
it for
$6.
Spend the $6 on the PlayStation Network. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely
okay.
do that.
So then you would definitely recommend that people emulate the game if they could do that.
If they can, yeah. I will always be a proponent of play the game any way you can. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of pretty much any game, even if it's garbage. So
okay. Yeah, nice. Makes sense. I think if survival horror is like your type of game and you like shooting zombies, then 100%. But if you're used to like platformers and stuff like me, I don't know that you're gonna love this game.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot of fun. It doesn't make me excited to try new Resident Evils. Ooh. If that makes any sense.
That's a fair assessment. Yeah. The good news is, like I said, this is the second to last in that style. So if you haven't played 4 through 6 or 7 and 8, then, And I wanted to talk a little bit about number 4. I mean, we pretty much have our ratings here for number 3, so I'll go through those really quickly. But I do want to kind of talk about number 4.
a little bit. So,
Oh boy.
Yaiser, you were the lowest on this game. Your total was a 2.5, which is right at 50%.
That's not bad.
I mean, it's average, right?
Yeah.
Technically, if you're talking 5 stars, 2.5 is
Right down
halfway
the middle.
there. Yeah,
You know,
I mean, it's failing.
it's reasonable.
Yeah, that's an
It's-
E. That's an
it's-
F or an E depending
yeah,
on
it
your
is.
school
well,
grade. So.
It is certainly failing. I've seen that before on my
You would
report
not
card. My
graduate.
mom was
I've
never
seen it a
happy
few
about
times.
seeing a 2.5.
Had a lot of those.
All it has to do is pass the regions.
It's true. That's all you had to do. Pass the regents and you're good. I was a lot higher than I thought I'd be on this game, honestly. Going into it, when I started playing it, I was like, okay, this is fun. But going into it, I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it. But I gave it a 3.6 overall.
Okay.
And DMC was at a 4.1.
Wow. I'm sure my
Ooh, that's
sound
pretty good.
really skewed it, but yeah. 4.1 is probably right around where I put it. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean your lowest grade was aged, which was 3.75.
Well, there you go. Wow, weird. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not too bad. On a scale of 100 for you, DMC, it was an 82%.
That's I would say that fits the
So
bill.
what's that, a B?
minus.
That's a
B
B.
minus.
B,
Yep.
It's a B
B
minus.
minus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's solid.
That's pretty good.
So Resident Evil 4, DMC, you and I have talked about this a little bit in Discord, and you kind of swear by this version. This is your favorite version of Resident Evil, yes? Number 4?
Resident Evil 4 is maybe my favorite game of all time. I've beaten the Wii edition 40 times.
Yeah.
I can beat it in over just 2.5 hours on new game mode, actually under 2.5, depending on the day. I've 5-starred all the mercenary modes. I've done every version, hard mode, normal mode, whatever. I love that game. I've beaten it on PC, beaten it on PlayStation 4, the Wii, Xbox, and I'm working on PlayStation 2 and GameCube. Like I have played that game to death, and actually have to stop playing it for a year or two at a time sometimes because I'll go through it over and over once I start playing. So
nice.
Cool.
So it's your Office. Like I just watched The Office over and over again on loop, and you
basically, I've got a poster for Resident Evil 4 right over there too. So like that's
nice.
It's my game.
I have a poster of The Office right there. So.
Oh, there you go. Threat level midnight. Let's go.
Yeah. Threat level midnight.
Yeah. So, and the Wii version is definitely the best version, correct?
I would say it's the most fun version, just because, man, it almost makes it too easy with the Wiimote, but it is just you're popping schools the whole time. It's so much fun to play.
Precision wise, right? With the
Wiimote. Yep. And then a lot of people the newest version for the PC, you can use keyboard and mouse. I never got comfortable with that, so I actually prefer playing with that with an Xbox controller. But yeah, the Wiimote and that is great, and you get all the features too, and you can do 480p, so you can have it look a little less smudgy.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's good. It's my favorite.
And of the first 4 Resident Evils, not counting Code Veronica, right? So we're counting just 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you say Nemesis ranks amongst those 4 for you?
Okay, that's a tough one to throw Resident Evil 4 in there. So I mean, 4 is going to be my number 1, which I can. God, they're burning my house down now. But 4 is my favorite one. There's no question. I love it, and I'm sure some people will be like, it didn't advance the story too much. I don't care, and it did enough in my opinion. But 4 is number 1. 2 would be number 2, and then probably. Oh man, it's going to be tough because I really like the ambiance of 1, but I think 3 is going to go above 1 just because that gameplay is almost addicting. Like I looked forward to every time I was going to play this game.
Yeah, just the action gameplay of it.
Yep, it really was fun. But they're all solid. Then of course, if you go just 1, 2, and 3, then it would be 2, 3, 1. Yeah, that's probably how I'd go with it.
So I guess I just wanted to touch on the controls one more time. I guess I got used to the controls pretty quickly because I felt like they were very similar to Silent Hill. Have you ever played the Silent Hill games?
I have never played a Silent Hill game besides the demo for Silent Hill 4. That's
those are good.
And Silent Hills, I guess, or PT or whatever. Yeah.
So I've played the first 3. I never played number 4, but Silent Hill 1 and 2 are very good.
Yeah, I plan to play them this year.
Yeah, for sure. Let me know when you stream those. I'm definitely going to watch those.
Probably
October. Those have some really good jump scares in them as well.
Oh yeah, they sound great.
So they have like the tank controls in them too, which I feel like just fit that game a little bit better because it's not as actiony.
Also, the camera follows you a little bit more, right? It's not just the set cutscenes,
right?
Okay, so that makes it different too. Then
yeah, for sure. But I just meant with like how slow and like kind of I don't know, like the walking and stuff like that reminded me a lot of Silent Hill. But anyway, so I was just gonna say that I really want to play. I really want to play Resident Evil 4 to just kind of see how those controls have advanced because I've heard great things about the game.
Oh yeah, So if I were to make a suggestion, if I can, it like, hey, I've never played Resident Evil. I want to play one from each generation because I feel like there's 3 generations of it. You've got the tank control, over the shoulder, first person. I would say 2. 2 is the first one. I would play that. You can actually probably play 2 without playing 1, and the story will still make a good amount of sense.
Okay.
And then 4, it's a drug for me at this point. I love that game so much. 5 is fun though. 5 is almost like 3 in the sense that they put so much emphasis on action that it's fun to play. But if you want to talk inventory problems, Resident Evil 5's inventory is a nightmare. It's so bad.
Really?
Then
that was Xbox 360, right?
Yep, 360,
like that
PS3,
generation.
PC.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So, and it's it's a good looking game, although it's got that 2000s like. Some people refer to it as like the urine filter because everything is just yellow for some reason. Like a lot of those games in the Xbox 360 era have that weird gold yellow filter on them for some reason.
Yeah.
So that game really suffers from it. And then if I were to suggest for the first person, Resident Evil 7, 8 is really fun, but 7 is scary. Like it's actually uncomfortable at times. So that if you want to get scared, play Resident Evil 7.
That's
cool.
cool.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. I like the scary aspect of it.
Yeah, I want to play that one with a 5-year-old.
Is that weird? Yeah, it's a little weird.
Okay.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not that weird, but like.
I mean, I was playing.
She likes I pretend to be a zombie all the time. She likes being scared.
So I think the original Resident Evil came out in 96. So I would have been 6 or 7 years old when I was playing the first one. So for comparison's sake.
That's fair.
Yep.
All right. So normally we ask the guest to provide us with something to add to our master list.
Mm-hmm.
We will hit the randomizer first. And then I will announce the new game. And then after that, if you want to shoot a recommendation our way, we would appreciate it.
Wait, real quick. What did you recommend the first time you were on here?
Jade
I recommended Jade Cocoon and Armored Core 2, which is funny because Jade Cocoon actually has tank controls. I didn't think about that till now. So,
oh, wow.
Take that for what it's worth.
Nice. All
right. So here we go. We are going to randomize. All right, so next game, we have it's our first handheld game, which is interesting.
Funny. I was going to suggest one, so that's really cool.
Released in 1992 by Nintendo, and it is Super Mario Land 2.
Ooh, classic.
6
I
golden
would
coins.
love to see what you guys think of this. It's a good one.
What?
Yeah. So we have a platformer.
Okay.
Super Mario. It's awesome.
It's a good game. It's
I
very
played
much
this game,
akin to Super Mario World, yeah.
Yeah, I played this game all the time when I was a kid. And for a Game Boy game, it actually looks really good.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Dude, all these ratings, I'm already thinking of the stuff you've touched on. Yaiser talking about like soundtrack and stuff. I can't wait to see what you guys think of this game. It's a good one. I'm sorry to build it up. I don't want to spoil
no, you're good.
Too much, but
I've played it before. I'm more worried about Yaiser. Yaiser's not a big fan of platformers, so I'm going to see how this goes for him. But I do think that he'll probably enjoy most of the music, I would say, because it's pretty good. It's got a lot of bangers in it.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so DMC, do you have a recommendation for us?
As always, I'm going to recommend 2 because that's you can't just do one. So the first one is going to be interesting because it's technically a PC game, but it is on consoles, and I'd love to see what you guys think of it. If you haven't played it, Half-Life 2. I'd love to see how that holds up, especially if you take on the Xbox version. That would be an interesting one to see how that goes. And then the second one, speaking of handheld, I would love to see you play Mario Golf for the Game Boy Color because that is technically an RPG, but it's not, but it is. So that I have to throw a golf game out there, and that one's a lot of fun, but that one might take some time, but I feel like you don't have to beat the game to get the gist of it.
Okay.
So,
I just got back into Mario Golf for Switch.
Yeah. Nice.
It's so much fun, dude.
I love golf games. I'm addicted to those.
I went to his house a few months ago and we were just drinking, playing Mario Golf, and I'm like, how is this a game? Like I'm hitting a golf ball off a skyscraper, and
it's so much fun, dude. I love it.
They're like
crazy.
arcadey goofy. Yeah, but the one for the Game Boy was actually developed by Camelot, which they make a lot of other games. I think they made Golden Sun. I'm pretty sure that was that. So it's got a lot of RPG elements to it, and it's very similar to the one that I was playing on stream with Cafe, where it's got kind of sim elements. It's a very solid game. So
that's cool. Yeah, I'll definitely put it on there.
I'd love to play that.
All right, so one last time, I'm gonna plug the Patreon. Thank you again, Jack, for being our new patron. And if you want to go on there and submit a game that we will play much quicker than any of the games added to our master list, then you can go on there and just submit a game. It's pretty easy. There's only one post on our Patreon, and it's like, hey, what game do you want us to play? And then you submit it on there, and then we randomize from the few games that are on there so far. So that's how easy that is. Link, it should be down in the description if you want to join that.
Yeah.
Other than that, in the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Resident Evil 3. How dumb are we for our ratings, right? I want to know that.
How dumb am I?
Yeah, and if you don't want to join the Patreon, that's totally fine, but we do want more games added to our master list, so please put some more recommendations down in the comments. We'd love to hear what you guys want us to play.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, DMC, where can they find you?
And you can find me on TikTok. I'll be playing every Tuesday from 10:45 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Eastern Standard. I play something retro. Usually we're continuing. Right now we're going to be finishing up Earthbound. I believe we'll be taking on Gygas here soon. I do try to play every Monday on Twitch as well from 10:30 p.m. to midnight. That's off and on. And I also have a Discord that you can check out that is in my link tree on all those pages. So you can find me there, where I know Rigney sees me there. I'm pretty frequent to conversations. There's usually something going on. So would love to see anyone there, especially if you want to razz me about my thoughts on Resident Evil 3 or how much I love 4, by all means.
Yeah, so you should definitely join DMC's Discord, because that is where you can vote on what game he's going to be playing next every single Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of every single Tuesday, he will be finishing off Earthbound tomorrow. If you're watching this on Monday when it comes out, we'll be finishing it tomorrow. So
yes,
definitely go watch that on TikTok.
Love to see you there. And we do it all on real hardware, so it's going to be a camera pointed at a CRT, playing off an official cart, and all that kind of stuff. So
for sure. And we're all in the comments, and we're typing smash every time he gets a critical hit, and it's amazing.
We've got my little Nest light that we change the colors to. My voice is shot by the end of it because I'm talking for 3 hours, but it's a great time.
It is a great time.
Cool.
I love it.
So hopefully we'll see you guys in the comments on his TikTok.
Absolutely.
And I think that's it for us. And next week we will have another guest. We will have Ashwee 2040 from Twitch, breaking barriers, first ever female guest on the on the Reliving Retro podcast, and she's going to be talking about Super Mario Land 2 with us, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can even let us know what you think of that game as well.
I'll have comments. You know me, I love it.
Yeah, for sure. So leave your reviews for Nemesis down in the comments, and I love reading them. Especially there's some that it gets so in detail. I love reading all that stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Cheers.
See ya.
I'm not blaming you, but you always tell me to pee before, and you didn't today.
This is the thing, where mom and dad are on a road trip, and they're like, kids, you got to go pee. And you're like, oh, I don't have to. And then the one time they didn't say it, Mom, you didn't even remind me.